Hey everyone, Pastor Chris here. Welcome to the Poolside Chat. It's really back there. I had a great question this week. Ah, my Bible got slippery pants on. It's falling off my lap. So I got a great question this week. Do I think that people don't take Jesus seriously? And this came from a Christian man. And it seems like, as I understood it, the observation is that a lot of talk, and this is within the church and outside of the church, a lot of the talk doesn't really treat Jesus as God, doesn't show Jesus the respect that God, the creator of the universe, should actually get. Young guy, so he didn't really have the background that I have, where I can remember what society was like 40, 50 years ago, where everybody went to church. And even if you didn't go to church, there was a respect for people that did. You did not mock God, because people realized it's God. So I found it fascinating that he's asking us that do the people take God seriously like they used to today from a younger person. And it made me think, because I do think that there is kind of a casual attitude toward Jesus and God. And I'm not saying that we have to go back to high worship, but I think that some of the awe for God maybe has been lost. But what I think too is that younger people, maybe more than those of us who are older, have experienced this lack of reverence, this lack of respect for Jesus, for God, for church. And I think we see movements today where especially younger people are coming back to church because they've seen life without God, or without that awe, that respect, that reverence for God and Jesus. And I think it's neat that the younger people are the ones noticing this. You know, you look what happened to Tennessee, that one church where everybody came in, went on for weeks to worship God. It was a very organic movement. It wasn't organized, it just started from people. I look at the Catholic Church right up the road from me, St. Ignatius. I was doing grief counseling, a talk. And they had catechism class going on. And the reason I say this is this was for teenagers. There had to have been, I know, 150, if not 200 teenagers on a Saturday doing catechism class. I've heard this from others in the Catholic Church, how the young people are flocking back to the Catholic Church. We see it in Baptist churches, and I think there is, not only do I think there's a lack of respect or a loss or a casual attitude towards Jesus, towards God, towards church. I do. But I think I think the other side of that is that people have that desire for God. And I think it comes from all circles. So let me give you two sides of this. One is within the public conversation, the public discourse. And I don't know. I didn't ask this kid's background. I don't know if this comes. Some of it comes from political leadership. There have been some political parties that say that have wanted to do away with God as part of their platform. That it's a myth. There's a political or a philosophical trend post-Christianity. We are beyond myths, God, Jesus being one of them. The church has certainly had some challenges and failings, very public failings, which have disillusioned parents and a lot of us with organized religion, church proper. There are movements where the church becomes insular to serve itself, and they don't see it serving outside of itself. So this is the public discourse. Within church, it has been, sad to say that the hard parts of Scripture there are, Jesus and God, are almost minimized in preaching. And it makes God kind of like a little bit impotent. So I do think this is true. And I think different churches, different people have given different folks different impressions of how we come to God, how we approach God, how we live for God, and how we act. And I'm there's so much I want to say about this. The verse that I came to today, and maybe this is what struck me when I heard this. It's Matthew 7:21 through 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, this is Jesus speaking. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evil doers. Sounds terrible. How do we know we're Christian? If we do all this stuff for God, and God says he never knew us. And I think much of that is the fault of the church, not so much of society, but of the church. So I don't want this to be discouraging, but what I do want you to know is an answer to a question, I think, where the Bible was plainly taught years ago. Maybe we've lost a little of that recently. And I guess the heart of his question. So what do we do? And what drives these people today, these younger people, to church? What is it that is attractive? What is it that's grabbing them, getting them? What is it that's bringing them to God? It's just plain God. And it's just plain God. So what I'm going to do, next Wednesday, I'm going to talk about what is that thing so that God doesn't need to tell us, I never knew you. And what is it we get with God? What is it? How do we get it? Wednesday I'm going to talk about that. because God is irresistible. And I think maybe we need to get back to that. And not minimize him, not apologize for him, not ignore parts of Scripture when we talk about God. Because we don't need to justify or make apologies for God. We just need to show him God. So what do we do? Who is it? What is that irresistible thing? Check back Wednesday. Because it's there. And that's why we have these kids coming back. All right. Great question. As you can tell, hard answer. But come back Wednesday. It's going to be neat. What do we do? What's the irresistible part about God? We'll find out. I'm Pastor Chris, member, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, at FL Compass Church, and now on YouTube, at FL Compass Church. Guys, have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow, but before you go to Super Bowl, remember, tomorrow's Sunday, so go to church. See you Wednesday.